Hey everyone, how's it going? So today, just wrapped up filming the underwater episode. So today we're going to be talking, or I guess this time, we're going to be talking about the X-Men Evolution cartoon. So if you like the X-Men, Avengers, whatever, all of their cartoons, from what I can tell at least, are on Disney Plus. Now I've heard that with some of their uploading, they positioned episodes kind of funky, like they didn't upload them in the right order or whatever. That might be true for this show. I thought a couple episodes seemed out of place, but I'd have to go digging for some more research to figure out if they were or not. But yeah, they have all that stuff, the Star Wars cartoons, short clips, whatever, you name it, they got it. So quick plug for Disney Plus. So that's where I watched it, all 4 seasons of it. So X-Men Evolution is one of the, I think at least 4 X-Men cartoons that came out since whenever the original one came out. I think it was in the 80s, I think. The original X-Men, the animated series cartoon. So this one, X-Men Evolution, I believe is the 2nd or 3rd X-Men cartoon. This one premiered in 2000 and was wrapped up in 2003. Now it had 4 seasons and they're kind of funky, they're not very consistent. The first season was about 13 episodes. The second was about 25. The 3rd season, I think, was somewhere in the ballpark of 16, and then the last one was 13 or 14. So it's pretty inconsistent. I don't know what the deal with that was. I can't remember what it premiered on, if it was Cartoon Network or not. I really don't remember, and it doesn't say on Disney Plus. Obviously, it's Disney's now. But I really enjoyed it. I think this is a little before or slightly after when Marvel started kicking off the what is it called? The Ultimate Universe. Because a few of the costumes, especially like Wolverine's, and during the epilogue, a lot of the costumes are more akin or alike to what they wore during the Ultimate Universe, or the Ultimate variation of the X-Men. Especially Wolverine. They adopted that costume very early on. I think it's in season 2 or 3 that they do his, because originally he debuts in his orange and black suit. Now this cartoon is pretty solid. I don't think this one aged as well as Justice League, just because some of the jokes feel a little dated, and just some of the dialogue is just kind of more cheesy than it was than the dialogue from Justice League. But overall, as far as animation goes, watching it on DC or on Marvel Unlimited, it was not like Justice League cartoon where I had to give it a few seconds to buffer before it shot up in quality. It was right off the bat pretty good. I can't really complain about the audio, although the intro and outro songs were louder than the episodes themselves. I thought that was kind of annoying, but not enough to stop watching the show, obviously. So yeah, I guess before we get into spoilers, there's a couple characters I wasn't sure of if they were show original or not, one of them being Spike. He's a pretty cool character. They use him pretty... I would say a lot during the show until the last season. They use him a little more sparingly. He's pretty cool though. He's he grows stuff and you can throw it. It's almost his name is Spike, so it's like bone spikes, I think, or something. I don't know. Something I appreciate, I can appreciate about it is it is a cartoon for kids, obviously, so they don't get too much into exactly how their powers work or anything like that. I think the most they ever do is there's an episode where they try to figure out how Nightcrawler teleports, and they're oh, you teleport to another dimension, and they do an episode or 2 of that, but they don't really delve into how powers work or anything like that. So I do appreciate that, because when you start trying to get into the specifics and explaining things like that, then all kinds of oh, are you sure, or you can raise qualms with the little details and stuff like that. So yeah, he's an original, I think. And then I think how they decided to use other characters is a bit different from how they were in their in the comics. Avalanche is one of those ones that kind of flip-flops on sides, whether or not he doesn't ever go full good guy, but he's always well, I want to do good things, but I don't want to be with the X-Men. It's kind of one of those weird kind of things. I think that's about it. So for non-spoilers, so to get into spoilers, I really like what they did with this show. They did a lot of really cool story arcs, but they didn't beat any to death. anybody, even if you're very casual with the X-Men, you know that Jean Grey turns into Phoenix. They don't show that, or they don't do that arc in this show. It's part of the epilogue at the very last episode. And I like that because it's not like that's such a it's been adapted so many separate times. Like even in just live action, it was adapted in both of the live action X-Men movie or like series, if you will. And even in the X-Men the animated series, the original one, they did Phoenix and Dark Phoenix Saga for those cartoons as well. So I appreciated that they didn't try to retread that or anything like that. So the first season is mostly about Magneto establishing the Brotherhood, and a lot of it is originally it's just like Jean and Scott, and then the entire first season is about going out and finding more mutants, good and bad. They discover Avalanche, Shadowcat, Blob, Toad, in like various situations, and then it's not until Mystique gathers them all up and calls them the Brotherhood that they get their costumes and like start doing like villainy things. Now this one is definitely not as much aimed at adults as Justice League was. This one is very much more for kids. You can tell by how they use the Brotherhood and things like that. Like the Brotherhood versus the X-Men, they're all teenagers, they're all in high school still, so it's more of just like a rivalry kind of thing versus like they're at war with each other, like traditionally in the comics they would be. So I thought that was kind of interesting. I mean, it was all right. I mean, they're enemies, but for no real reason, for other than just like popularity, I guess, is kind of like a driving factor. Because the Brotherhood mutants are always the ones getting picked on, the ones that aren't as popular or whatever. The first season actually ends with Asteroid M. Magneto is trying to recruit everybody to put them through this machine that is powered by one of the gems of Cyttorak, which is, for those of you who don't know, Juggernaut is not a mutant. He gets his powers from a gem of Cyttorak that this demon Cyttorak gave him. So when people walk through it, their minds get twisted and they're more susceptible, I guess, to like influence from Magneto. So Cyclops and Cyclops' newly discovered brother Havoc, they go through the machine and all like they're bad guys for all of like 2 minutes or something like that. And it's believed that Magneto's dead. So you go into season 2, Magneto and Mystique are nowhere to be seen. I think the main villain for 2, you know what? I don't remember. But so season 2 and 3 and 4 are all just kind of like crazinesses like throughout the season, and then the finale is what kind of ties it all together. So season 4 I want to talk about specifically because season 4 is, or no, let's talk about season 3. Yeah, season 3. So they introduced Wanda. I don't like her character design in the show. I thought it was kind of funky. They kind of fixed it a little bit in the epilogue, but so they introduced Wanda, and her whole thing is, I want revenge against Magneto because he abandoned me in this mental hospital because I can't control my powers. Like, that's pretty rude, so I understand that. But essentially, this was to introduce the Sentinels. Trask has been working behind the scenes, trying to build an army of robots to shut down the mutant menace, things like that. Or actually, that was the end of season 2. Was Mystique sneaks into the mansion, sabotages it so it self-destructs while they're off trying to fight Magneto, and just all kinds of craziness happens. Like it's insanity. Like they retreat back home to find their home blown up, and the government is like, mutants bad. And then it kind of devolves from there into like everybody's picking on mutants all the time, and it's just kind of like insanity, really. So what else? So yeah, season 3 was build up to the Sentinels and all that kind of craziness. Nick Fury and Captain America make appearances in the show. Nick Fury approaches Wolverine about, hey, Magneto stole Project Rebirth, which is in this universe what they call the Super Soldier Serum that created Captain America, except the serum was bad for humans. So it was more like a spin on, it'll increase mutant powers, but it's deadly to humans. So they had to freeze Captain America instead of him being stuck in some glacier somewhere. They froze him purposely to look for a cure because his cells were deteriorating. So I thought that was kind of cool. It was a pretty cool tie-in. No other Avengers make an appearance in the show. And Nick Fury only shows up like 1 or 2 other times total. So it's not like they use S.H.I.E.L.D. a lot or anything like that. What else? Magneto recruits other mutants that were previously unseen to fight his battles for him. One of them was being Colossus. Another one was Gambit. Another one was Pyro. And am I forgetting a fourth one? I don't think so. But so he recruits them. It's implied that Magic is in this universe as well, although she's never seen. Magneto threatens Colossus by saying, "If you don't do what I want, I'm gonna hurt your family." And Gambit's, they never really delved into why Gambit teams up with Magneto, but Gambit does end up, like, they built his relationship with Rogue in a couple of episodes during season 4, so that was pretty cool. And Pyro in the epilogue ends up going with the Brotherhood. So yeah, season 4 is about build up to a big fight with Apocalypse. I thought how they handled Apocalypse was pretty well done. Apocalypse, if you've seen Age of Apocalypse, the movie, like the live action one, he's the big blue guy, super powerful. But the build up for most of the season is they got to find keys to release him. It's some random mutant named Mesmero or something like that. He's the only one doing this mission solo, and he's got mental abilities, so he's like mind controlling people to steal the keys for him and stuff like that. Eventually, obviously, he succeeds and frees Apocalypse, and then Apocalypse seemingly kills Magneto, Xavier, and Storm, and Mystique. And really, it's revealed like pretty much later on in like the last 2 or 3 episodes that he sent them back to the pyramid in order to get like reprogrammed and become the Horsemen. So it's pretty cool. You get some shots of them fighting the various teams, the X-Men. The Morlocks, which is in this show, they're like mutants living in the tunnels because they have like physical mutations to where they won't be accepted by society, essentially. Spike ends up, his mutation develops like armor almost, not like a porcupine, but like a armadillo or something like that. So he gets like armor, so he ends up joining them instead of rolling with the X-Men. And so various factions and various mutants they meet throughout the years or over the course of the series end up teaming up in this one just like giant finale to fight the 4 different Horsemen and Apocalypse. Apocalypse's goal was to Apocalypse's origin is pretty similar to that of what we see in the movie. He's a super powerful mutant alive during Egyptian times. Except the spin on this one is he doesn't transfer himself conscience to body or anything like that. He was sealed away because his followers betrayed him. Because what his ultimate plan was to take this alien technology and use it to turn the populace into mutants. Except not everybody would survive, which is why they're trying to stop him, because they're trying to survive, or they're trying to save overall mankind, not just mutant kind, which is how Xavier wants them to be. Looking out for everybody. So that's what's kind of going on with Apocalypse, and that's why they're scattered across the globe at 4 different points, because he's using 4 different pyramids to shoot up they don't really say what they are, but they're like triangle or like pyramids of power that are supposedly going to release something to mutate everybody on Earth or whatever. So I thought that was a pretty cool spin. Gave him a little bit of some cool motivation, because then he's just trying to be the leader of the mutant planet, basically, is what's going on. So I thought that was pretty cool. So yeah, we get some pretty cool fights. And I like how they defeated him too. They don't just straight up overpower him or outsmart him or anything like that. It's kind of like not like a Deus Ex Machina, but definitely they set it up earlier in a few episodes earlier. They encountered a mutant who could shut down other mutants' powers, kind of like if you remember from X-Men: The Last Stand, the mutant they derived the cure from. It was similar to that. So Rogue absorbs his ability because he can it's like a burst, right? So he shuts off energy and abilities. So he copies his power, runs in there, and shuts down Apocalypse. And then Wolverine because he's in some kind of resting area. Wolverine closes him in and shreds the computer hardware for the computer, and it levitates and teleports them somewhere. They have no idea where, and so they're able to shut down the rest of the pyramids by taking out the main computer. And I thought that was pretty good ending, considering how powerful Apocalypse is. It would have been pretty ridiculous given the team that went after him if they would have defeated him. Maybe some cool battle between Rogue and Apocalypse would have been pretty dope. But I liked how they handled it. I thought it was pretty satisfying. And then I didn't realize it was the last episode of the show or the series, but they wrap it up with a nice little epilogue. It's pretty cool. I'd say it's pretty satisfying. The way they wrap it up is basically like a voiceover monologue from Xavier. He basically talks about things like we saw enemies become allies, and is Magneto joining the Institute and training up the next generation of mutants, while he says something about some people will never change their ways, and that's the original Brotherhood teaming up with, I believe, Mystique, Pyro, Scarlet Witch, Quicksilver, Avalanche, and Blob and Toad. And then he talks about how allies become enemies, and they show a short clip of like Jean bursting into the Phoenix energy, and then they move on. So like it's not, they don't go the route of the Phoenix Saga with her, like, which again I really liked, because I think it's a bit overplayed and didn't really fit into this show considering the power scaling they went with. And I think there's like one or two other shots, but the ending shot of the X-Men in the future is like all of them and like their Ultimates get up. So I was like, oh, okay, cool. This is obviously based off the Ultimates universe, and this is showing, like when they get older, this is how they're going to look and stuff like that. So I thought it was pretty cool. And then the very ending shot is them at that time and how they look, and just like as like their family grew, because originally it was like 5 or 6 mutants, and they build it on every season by recruiting more and more as they pop up. So real quick, something that I thought was different that I haven't seen this take on it before was Cerebro. So Xavier uses Cerebro to locate mutants and all that kind of jazz. But for this show, so he could only locate mutants at the time of them using their powers. I don't think it's ever been like that, or portrayed like that at least. So I thought that was a pretty interesting take. I thought that was pretty cool. I think it's going to wrap up everything I have to say about it. It was a really enjoyable cartoon, pretty short if you remember how many episodes I said it was. It wasn't very long at all, especially compared to some of the other cartoons that ran for the same time or even longer. A lot of those shows had a lot more episodes. So yeah, that's going to wrap it up. I think I'm going to jump to Justice League Unlimited. I started that, and then I kind of trailed off on doing some other stuff and some other projects. And then, yeah, we'll probably circle back and hit some more of the Star Wars stuff. I've got some plans for the future and what I want to do. And you can expect to see some of the stuff from my mobile games here pretty soon. I'm really excited about that, because that was a big part of why I wanted to build a PC. So yeah, all that stuff is to come. I built myself out videos to last me about another 2 weeks. So I've got a lot of time to put some effort into some new stuff and different things. So I'm really excited about it. So if you made it to the end of the video, thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.